When examining the wealthiest individuals of our time, it becomes evident that the leaders of the tech industry, such as Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, dominate the charts. However, history reveals that the most affluent business tycoon to have ever existed passed away nearly a century ago. In this video, we delve into the story of Standard Oil, a business empire so colossal that, despite 100 years of technological advancements, no individual has been able to surpass its founder. The story begins with John Rockefeller's birth in upstate New York in 1839. He was the eldest son of a wandering merchant who referred to himself as a botanic physician, but in reality, sold the 19th century equivalent of homeopathic medicine. The family lived a confusing and complicated lifestyle, as John's father spent weeks away from home and even had several children with another woman who he brought back to live with his wife and family. John grew up learning how to hustle people for the best deal possible and how to maximize every penny he earned. The family never stayed in one place for long, and John lived a nomadic lifestyle from the age of 3. To help support his mother, he would raise turkeys or do odd jobs for their neighbors. When the family moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 1854, John had the opportunity to attend school. However, less than a year later, he dropped out to work as a bookkeeper for a local produce broker, earning only 50 cents per day. He worked for other companies on the side to make ends meet. After 2 years, John's bosses refused to give him a significant raise, so he started his own produce brokerage, thanks to his excellent reputation. He secured a loan of $4,000, a significant sum at the time, and began trading hay, grain, and various meats. In his first year, he recorded sales of $500,000, only earning a small fraction as commissions. However, it was still a remarkable achievement. Every bank in Cleveland was eager to lend John money, despite him being just 18 years old. Then, in 1859, a significant event occurred that would alter John's life forever. The first American oil well was discovered just 100 miles east of Cleveland, marking the beginning of the Pennsylvania oil rush. Within a year, 4,500 barrels of oil would be produced, and John Rockefeller was about to make his most significant move yet. In the past, oil was not as valuable as it is today, and gasoline-powered vehicles were yet to be invented. However, oil could still be turned into kerosene, which people used for lighting. John realized that the real money was not in drilling for oil but in refining it. He saw many people go bankrupt before striking oil, so he knew the risks were too high. Instead, he decided to let others find the oil and buy it off them. He waited until 1863 when the government built a railway line connecting the Pennsylvania oil fields to Cleveland. John was ready for it and had a team of chemists and engineers who not only optimized the refining process but also discovered various uses for the byproducts of refining petroleum. The early refineries in Cleveland could only operate at 60% efficiency, but John increased that percentage and started selling all the byproducts like paraffin wax, tar, and naphtha. In just 2 years, the Rockefeller refinery was worth over $70,000 and was among the largest in Cleveland. By 1865, there were 26 competing refineries, but within 5 years, John had acquired all but 4 of them. His business grew too big to handle as a partnership, so in 1870, he incorporated as Standard Oil of Ohio. John convinced the remaining competitors in Cleveland by inviting them over and showing them his books, revealing that he could operate at a loss far longer than they could stay solvent. In exchange for a good buyout price, he offered his competitors positions in his own company, thus placing the brightest minds in the industry under his control. Not everyone would give up immediately, and over time, John eroded the price of oil and kerosene, sometimes by as much as 80%, in order to strangle competitors. This strategy worked, and by 1880, he had acquired refineries across the northeastern U.S. and was refining over 90% of the entire country's oil production. At this point, John was so powerful that he would invite the owners of big rail companies and personally negotiate rebates for using their trains. However, this practice of negotiating backroom deals did not sit well with the business world. During the time when rail was the primary mode of transportation for industrial goods, many prominent industrialists were concerned about John Rockefeller's misuse of transportation rebates. They feared that this could lead to monopolization in their respective industries. Consequently, over the next decade, businessmen, politicians, and the media mounted a fierce attack on Standard Oil. In Ohio, legislators drafted antitrust regulations to take down Rockefeller, but he was always one step ahead. In 1882, he restructured his company and formed the Standard Oil Trust, which held stakes in over 40 local companies. To showcase his success, Rockefeller constructed an impressive headquarters for his company on Broadway. At its peak, Standard Oil owned 20,000 oil wells, 4,000 miles of pipeline, and employed over 100,000 people. However, Rockefeller's grip on the oil industry began to loosen both domestically and abroad. Large oil deposits had been discovered in Russia and Asia and were being developed by the Rothschild family, who were determined to get that oil to America. In 1890, the federal government passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, giving politicians the power to go after the Standard Oil Trust itself. Despite the complex legal structure behind all the companies, the government finally broke up Standard Oil in 1911. By that point, Rockefeller had already cashed in and was no longer actively managing the company. During the final 20 years of its existence, Standard Oil paid out over $500 million in dividends. Some estimates suggest that its true worth at its peak was $1 trillion. The Supreme Court found Standard Oil guilty of anti-competitive practices and broke the company up into 34 separate entities. Despite this, Rockefeller kept his stake in those companies until his death, and the breakup ended up being the most profitable event of his life. Many of those companies later merged with one another, and today, the remnants of Standard Oil are part of ExxonMobil, Chevron, or BP, which have since become large companies in their own right. John Rockefeller's ownership of these successor companies made him the wealthiest businessman ever, with an estimated net worth of $400 billion. To this day, no one has surpassed Rockefeller's position on the leaderboard, not even Jeff Bezos. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative and enjoyable. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.